Hi, this is Audrey. I'm sitting in my van outside of my daughter's therapy place where she goes for therapy since the car accident in 2004. And she has therapy 4 times a week. And she's had this therapy regimen for the past 4 years almost. But I'm sitting here today and I'm in a different place than I was a year ago, even a month ago. And I really don't know how to explain to anybody what the past 4 years has been like. Because unless you have gone through some things, you don't really understand what it takes to go through some of the things that God allows you to go through. I'm a mom, and I consider that my first ministry above all. I'm a mom. So you can't imagine what it feels like or what it felt like the day that I walked into the hospital and saw my daughter lying what it looked like her deathbed inside a halo to keep her neck, which had been broken, from moving. And I remember that day. I remember my pastor, Pastor Carl Miller, coming to me when I was in the hospital at Port Huron. And he told me, he said, Audrey, he said, when you walk into the room, your mother instincts are going to take over. But you're going to have to allow the prophet in you to stand up and take control. And I did that. I did that. I stood, I walked into my daughter's room and I looked at her in her halo. And there was a part of me that just hit the floor. And it was everything I could to just stand up. And I walked over to her and I grabbed the bars of her halo and I looked in her face and I said, Micah, wake up. And immediately her eyes opened. And from that moment, she began to get more and more back. And the next day I had a conversation with the doctor. And the doctor had told me, we don't have a prognosis for her. We have never actually dealt with anyone in her situation. She's one in 5 children who have gone through this trauma and has survived without paralysis. And I know you look at my daughter and she's in a wheelchair and she looks paralyzed and she functions as if she's paralyzed, but she's not paralyzed. And so when the doctor told me that he didn't have the answers, I knew God had the answers. I don't know why God allowed us to go this route. But I know that in the midst of this struggle, I've learned so many things about myself, about God, about being a believer, and about faith. But I've also learned a lot about forgiveness. And this is a trauma that most people never recover from. And I find myself on the other side of it. And I'm pretty much making this video for my family, for those that have walked through this trauma with me, for those that love Micah, for those people on Facebook that have prayed for us from day one. I have over 1,000 friends on Facebook that are specifically there because they follow Micah and her recovery. And I thank God for every one of you because you've become my family. You've become the one that hold me up inside of this. But I come to let you know today that I'm free. I'm free from this trauma. This trauma no longer has me. I now have a testimony to go forth with. I can now tell you how to rebuild your life up from hell. And you ain't seen nothing yet. Because what God is about to do in my life and in the life of my family and in the life of those that He allows me to touch is going to be on a magnitude that none of us could even ever imagine. And I just want you to know today, I'm asking my family, please forgive this man that hit us. Please let him go. He's got his own testimony, and he's got his own call, and he's got his own life that he has to live before God, and we need to release him. We need to release him so that we're free. Forgiveness is not for the other person. The forgiveness is so that we can be free. Forgiveness is our key to the door that unlocks us and lets us out of this trauma. See, 2 weeks ago, I was depressed, suffering from post-traumatic stress disorder, having panic attacks that were running me crazy. I was ready to commit myself into a hospital. Maybe it was a little longer than 2 weeks ago. It was probably maybe a month ago. But 2 weeks ago, I ran away from home. And I went to Cincinnati, and I checked myself into a hotel room, and I sat in that hotel room with God. He met me there, and I told him, I'm not going to leave here until you set me free. And he set me free because I was willing to forgive. And there are a lot of things that are holding us back in my family, but forgiveness is the biggest one. If we're going to go forth into this broad place that God is setting us in, we're going to have to go forth in forgiveness. I encourage you to forgive today, particularly my family, my sons, Timotheus, Frank, Chris. I encourage you to forgive. Let this man go. Let this trauma go. Let this era of our lives become our testimony. Let it become the thing, the step or the launching pad that catapults us into the greatness that God's called us to. I'm no longer ashamed. I'm no longer in pain. I'm no longer hurt. I'm free. I'm free to be who God created me to be. And I'm not going to stop or let anything or anyone stop me from fulfilling the purpose that God has on my life. I'm ARRoddy, and you've just listened to my first video blog from Real Life Innovations. Have peace today. God bless you.